woman delivers a baby. Everyone talks about baby, but no one talks about women's health.
After delivery, they tend to forget about the mother. Suddenly, all the attention gets diverted to the baby. I want to harm the baby. I want to kill my baby. I don't want the baby. Affect your stitches will infect. So many years of marriage she had conceived. Pressure coming from outside.
Okay.
Especially in infertility cases.
Okay.
When the couple is not able to conceive. There is something called as mind-body relation.
Yeah.
It is scientifically proven. She was not conscious.
Okay.
So we had to keep her on ventilator. We had to intubate her. The second story, it is heights of ignorance. Decision for the mode of delivery has to lie completely on the doctor.
Never received a proper education about reproductive systems. They're treated as illegal in schools. Awareness should start from classroom, but lack of awareness starting from classroom.
And it was so embarrassing. So embarrassing. Because they don't understand. In people who marry among the family.
Hi, doctor.
Hello.
Doctor, if someone's seeing you for the first time in this podcast, can you introduce yourself for 1 minute?
So I'm Dr. Soumya Rajput. I'm an obstetrician and gynecologist. I originally hail from Delhi, currently settled in Hyderabad.
Okay.
And I'm working in my clinic, that is PS Clinic.
Ma'am, every doctor has a special story choosing their specialization. And gynecology is a very unique subject because it deals with pregnancies, fertility, everything. What made you to choose that?
So there's a very controversial story behind this.
Okay.
Not controversial, but very ironic story.
Okay.
So when I was doing MBBS, I had no plans of taking up gynecology as my career. Because in MBBS, we are young. MBBS is basically undergraduation.
Okay.
So people used to tell us stories about gynecology department. It is very toxic. There is no work-life balance. You won't have any personal life if you pursue this as a career. So all that got instilled in my head and I was like, no, this is definitely not my cup of tea.
Okay.
Then we came to our internship and I also worked in the gynecology department for a couple of months as a junior resident, as a non-academic junior resident.
Okay.
So basically, a non-academic junior resident is like when you complete your undergraduation, you start working in some specialized branch without specializing in that branch.
Okay.
So like a job.
Okay.
So when I was working in that OBGY department, I saw the diversity of the field. I saw so many things and there is so much in this field. So there is obstetrics and gynecology.
Okay.
Obstetrics pertains to pregnancy related matters. Gynecology pertains to non-pregnant, whatever the health issues pertaining to women. So I saw among obstetrics, we have to take care of the mother as well as the baby. We are, responsible for two lives at a time. So that makes it even more challenging and even more satisfying when the outcome is good.
Okay.
And when it comes to the gynecological aspect of it, we have to deal with young girls, starting from when they attain their puberty, the teenage years, then coming to when they have attained their reproductive potential, and once they attain menopause. And each set of these ages has a unique set of problems. See, gynecology is such a unique branch because women's health is so important that one branch is specially dedicated to only women's health.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of any specialized branch dedicated to men's health? So it is so important. One specialized specialty has been dedicated to women's health. And still, the irony is that among the general public in the society, women's health is something that is very ignored.
Important.
It's important and ignored at the same time. So that's what I felt. I can enter this branch. I can do something for women, being a woman myself, being and a sort of a feminist I am.
Okay.
So I can, apart from treating the medical conditions, I can help women in general. So
When you said you are going to take gynecology, what is your parents' reaction?
oh, they were very happy.
Okay.
Yeah, they were elated. In general, when I took up medical as a branch, I'm the first doctor in my family.
Oh,
Yeah,
I thought your family generation wise you are coming from doctors.
I'm the first one in my family to become a doctor.
Okay.
And my parents had no idea about the medical field and what all branches we have to take. So they left the decision absolutely up to me.
Okay.
So they were very excited.
Ma'am, you studied at AIMS. You have seen hundreds of women. What one thing you learned from them or you realized from them, most of them ignore?
Women in general tend to ignore their health.
Okay.
They don't come to the gynecologist very promptly.
Okay.
Like if you have a fever or if you have a cold, you'll promptly go to a doctor. Okay, I'm suffering from
Yeah.
this. But women generally tend to ignore their symptoms. If they have some irregular bleeding or if they have pain during their periods,
Yeah.
they don't tend to go to the doctor saying that, okay, it is normal only, it happens to all women. But that is something that should not be ignored.
Ma'am, I want to know that what is the most satisfaction part in this field?
Oh, I would say when pregnant women deliver a healthy baby
Okay.
and both the mother and baby are healthy, that
Okay.
is the most satisfying part of the job.
Cool.
In fact, I have a story. I delivered a baby for a lady that was a difficult labor.
Okay.
Her labor went on for around 24 hours. That is
Okay.
almost one full day. And she delivered a healthy baby girl. And while she was getting discharged, she told me that I'll name my daughter on your name.
Wow.
So that's what gives us satisfaction.
Satisfaction. Doctor, the moment when women become pregnant or women delivers a baby, everyone talks about baby, but no one talks about women's health. What do you take on this? Because they are in happy mood,
Yes.
they will forget. Women also in happy mood, mother also in happy mood. She is also in happiness, and she is also forget about this. What do you want to say about this?
So definitely childbirth, getting a new member in the family is a different and very exciting thing for the family. And women's health is generally ignored in the family.
Family.
But we should always take to it that women have experienced so much during the 9 months of this pregnancy and childbirth. They are exhausted. So their health should not be ignored. They apart from the physical changes that are happening in her body, they undergo a lot of emotional and mental stress also. That is very much ignored.
Okay.
And after birth, they have to breastfeed the baby. We tell them to breastfeed every 2 hours. Even at night, they have to wake up every 2 hours and breastfeed the baby. Initially, there is problems in lactation. There are problems in milk production. Both the mother and the newborn child are learning how to breastfeed. It is an art. It is not something that comes naturally. So they have to learn it. The woman is exhausted. She is not slept well. She might not eat properly because of all the stress and the pain that she undergoes during delivery. And all that is generally ignored by the family. If she does not have a good support system, if there is nobody to ask her, how are you feeling? You know, when it happens, when a child is born, all the relatives, all the friends will come. They would want to see the baby only. Oh, how's the baby? We'll take pictures of the baby. They will forget about the mother. During the 9 months, they'll be taking care of the mother only. How are you? You take rest, you take this, you take that food. But after delivery, they tend to forget about the mother. Suddenly, all the attention gets diverted to the baby. So the mother also feels ignored. She might feel alone in that journey.
Okay.
So it is very important, especially the partner, her husband, has the main role. He should be the one who should be supporting her to the maximum.
Okay.
He should at least just one question: how are you feeling?
Yeah.
Do you need rest? I will take care of the baby for some time. You take rest. Don't care about all the relatives. I will handle them. So just these basic, at least some basic supportive words, some basic supportive, just sit with her, talk about her journey, what has changed, how are you feeling. So that will help a long way.
Yeah.
And there is something that is very common after delivery that is called postpartum blues
Okay.
or postpartum depression.
Okay.
There are 3 levels to it.
Okay.
The most minor one, or the most, on the bottom level, is postpartum blues,
Okay.
where the mother might feel depressed, low mood because of all because after the delivery hormones suddenly drop down.
Okay.
So because of all these hormonal changes, they have a tendency to have postpartum blues where they feel low, they feel sad, they are not able to, they have crying spells, they are in depression. Then somewhat more serious form of this is postpartum depression, where they go into, they might have some thoughts that I don't want the child.
Okay. Yeah.
And in even severe cases, sometimes they might think, no, I want to harm the baby. And, I want to kill my baby. I don't want the baby.
Okay.
So there are different levels of this. psychological issues postpartum. But if they have a good support system, all these can be minimized.
Social media often shows pregnancy is a beautiful journey. But what are the struggles and what are the emotional support women need during that period?
So definitely pregnancy is a beautiful journey for the couple, and more so if it is a planned pregnancy.
Okay.
If it is a planned pregnancy in the sense that the couple has planned, if that they're physically ready, mentally ready, emotionally, financially ready, then it becomes all the more beautiful.
Yeah.
But even if it is not planned, still it is a beautiful journey because they are about to bring their own child into the world. But it also comes with a lot of complications, struggles, and a lot of challenges for the woman. Firstly, because she is growing an entire new baby from scratch in her body.
Yeah.
So her body undergoes a lot of physical changes, metabolic changes, so many physiological changes happen in the woman's body. Apart from weight gain, they have back pains, they have swelling, they might have difficulty in breathing because of the size of the stomach. It is putting pressure on the lungs and heart. So they might have difficulty in breathing. During sleep also, they have difficulty in sleeping at a particular position. They might feel comfortable in one position also. They might have to get up at night to go to washroom frequently. And apart from these physical changes, so many emotional changes are also happening because of the hormones. They might have anxiety about, okay, how will the health of my baby be? How will my body be after delivery? Will I get back to my previous body after delivery? All those things keep running in the mind of the mother, which they don't really usually share with anybody. So these are some of the aspects. If you just sit and talk to them, how are you feeling? What is going on in your mind? Just sharing it with somebody also mitigates the struggles and challenges that come with it.
Ma'am, you said that body changes after delivery. Is that recoverable? Ma'am?
Definitely recoverable.
Okay. What should they take care about?
So first thing they should take care about is their diet.
Okay.
They should have a healthy protein rich diet.
Okay.
Apart from that, we give them calcium supplements, iron supplements that they have to take diligently because they have to breastfeed the baby. There might be calcium deficiencies in the body. Because of that, they might have pain, bone pain, back pain, leg pain. All those things can be there. So, whatever supplements the doctors are giving them, iron supplements, calcium supplements, vitamin D, they have to take it diligently.
Okay.
And once they recover from childbirth, once they feel they are comfortable, they have to start exercising.
Okay.
It's not like after delivery, my life is over. Nothing like that. You see so many actresses also.
Yeah.
That is different. They have a
Proper
good,
dietitian.
proper dietitian and proper team who can take them to take care of themselves. But see, you can work on yourself after you feel comfortable. Okay, now I am fit to resume my exercises. Then you have to start exercising.
Okay.
After delivery, at least start from small exercises, small low intensity exercises, just daily walking, at least 30 minutes. Start from 30 minutes, gradually increase to 60 minutes walking. Then slowly you can start your aerobic exercises. Slowly you start going to the gym, swimming is a very good exercise.
Okay.
So you have to do exercise and diet. Avoid all junk foods, avoid oily foods, eat all home cooked nutritious foods. So these are the main things.
Ma'am, you said that protein is important.
Yes.
Everybody won't follow that doctor's diet. They will follow their own diet.
Yes.
Grandmother says something to eat.
Yes.
Everybody says something to eat.
Correct.
They will follow that diet. What is your take?
So sometimes what our elders tell us based on their experience, that is also really helpful in the diet journey.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll tell all nutritious things based on we are not even aware of what all ingredients will go into those. They'll make dry fruit laddus or
Yeah.
something. So sometimes it is a good thing to follow their diet, whatever healthy options they are giving. But sometimes they also, because of some cultural practices or some myths that have been prevalent, sometimes they put restrictions also on the woman. After childbirth, I have seen so many women after undergoing cesarean section. For 1 month, they are just taking liquid diet, soft diet, not taking proper vegetables, fruits that they're supposed to take.
Okay.
because their elders or their family members have told them that if you take these foods, it will produce heat in your body, it will affect your stitches will infect. Sometimes they have been told not to drink milk because it will form pus in the stitches. These are all myths.
Okay.
After a normal delivery, even after a cesarean section, after a normal delivery, from the same day, you can start eating whatever normal diet you used to have before delivery. After a cesarean section, your doctor would probably tell you to take soft diet for the first 2 days. From the third day onwards, you can start taking your normal healthy diet. There are no restrictions, nothing at all. Like, there are no restrictions. You can drink milk. You have to drink milk. That's a very good source of calcium. You have to eat vegetables. You have to eat fruits. You have to eat chapatis. All your regular food you have to eat. No restrictions.
In your experience, what is the one mistake every husband does during a pregnancy period?
So husbands, right. First is ignoring the symptoms of the woman.
Okay.
Ignoring
What kind
or
of symptoms, ma'am?
dismissing their daily complaints.
Okay.
Like we discussed, pregnant women will have some sort of backaches, leg, pain in the leg,
Pains.
pain in the hands because of the extra calcium that they need, the strength that is going into forming the baby. They have all these cramps and also the stretching inside the belly. Sometimes they will have cramps, some pressure symptoms. They might be sharing that with their partner. But sometimes what do husbands do? No, okay, what is it? Daily you're saying the same thing. Why can't you be just like other women? You're no special. Every woman undergoes the same thing. Daily I'm hearing this. So don't dismiss their symptoms, please. It is important. Support them in whatever way possible. Even if you can't do anything to reduce the symptoms or to help them, don't at least dismiss the symptoms. Listen to them, lend a hearing ear to them, and whenever they need some emotional support, whenever the female is feeling exhausted or emotionally overwhelmed, just sit and talk to them and try to go to the antenatal visits as much as possible. Women would really feel supported with that. And also, the husbands should also make a track of which month my wife is in right now. It should not be just the woman's responsibility to take care of a pregnancy. Husband should have an equal role in it. So he should also be aware of, okay, now it is the third month. So what all things I should take care of? What all tests are remaining? What all medications she should be taking? Is she taking her medications on time? Is she taking proper diet? Is she sleeping on time? Does she need anything? So he has to take equal responsibility of the pregnancy. That will lead to a healthier outcome and a happier outcome.
Yeah. Without revealing any patient details, can you share with us pregnancy or fertility case which you in your head for a long time?
So there was during my post graduation, there was this lady who was admitted with us, pregnant lady. She had conceived with IVF conception,
Okay.
and she came with us at around 5th month
Okay.
or between 20 to 24 weeks exactly. I don't remember. But at the 5th month of gestation, she started having leaking per vaginum.
Okay.
Leaking means the water around the baby has broken and that water is now coming out. Now it is just the 5th month. It is a precious pregnancy because it is IVF conceived.
Okay.
After so many years of marriage, she had conceived. So now, since it was just the 5th month of pregnancy, it is a difficult situation for both the doctors and the mother on how to go about it later on. Because this leaking per vaginum, this water breaking, it comes with a lot of complications. Because say, once, suppose in a water balloon, you make a hole, the water will continuously leak, right? It won't stop. So that is the same way. If once the water around the baby has broken, it will continuously keep on leaking.
Okay.
So that will lead to decreased level of water or amniotic fluid, we say, around the baby. That will lead to multiple complications for the baby. The baby won't have space to move around. That can hamper the baby's growth. There can be some malformations of the hands, of the legs, of the baby. And since now there is an opening, so there can be risk of infection to the baby, risk of infection to the mother. So these were all the challenges that we were anticipating,
Okay.
and we were thinking what to do next.
Okay.
So we discussed with the mother. We had a discussion among our team of doctors, and the mother wanted to continue the pregnancy. She did not want to give up
Okay.
as yet. So, okay, we discussed with the pediatrician also, and okay, we started her on antibiotics, we started her on medications, IV fluids, IV medications to prevent all these complications. We kept her admitted for a long time in the hospital.
Okay.
We kept her on strict bed rest because more movement means there will be more leakage. Okay. She was just allowed to go to the washroom, from the washroom to her bed, bed to washroom. That's it. And daily we used to check for the baby's heartbeat, for any signs of infection, any fever, and how much water leakage is happening. And after about a month or so, we saw that the water leakage has gradually come down. Because sometimes it happens when there is a small hole, it might seal on its own also.
Okay.
So slowly we started noticing that okay, the leakage has stopped. That time we were ready to send her home. Okay, now you can go home.
Okay.
But again, she had to come for regular checkups, frequent monitoring, prolonged antibiotic course. And finally, after all these struggles, after all these challenges, she delivered a healthy baby at around 34 weeks. That is a good time to deliver a baby.
Okay.
And the baby was fine, mother was fine, no signs of infection. So that was a challenging and tricky
Great mother.
situation.
In fertility or pregnancy cases, what hurts most to the patient? Is that medical condition or pressure coming from the outside?
Firstly, the pressure coming from outside.
Okay.
Especially in infertility cases.
Okay.
When the couple is not able to conceive.
Okay.
Firstly, immediately after marriage in our Indian societies, there is a lot of pressure. Okay, now marriage is done. Now start planning a baby.
Baby.
From the initial years of marriage only, they have this pressure. But when the couple is ready, if they are planning a pregnancy, if they are not able to conceive, then they start commenting on the couple. Oh, there must be something wrong with them, especially the woman.
Women.
They'll blame only the women in
My
our
next question
society.
is that only.
Yes.
Yeah.
So women face the brunt of it.
Okay.
Oh, they're not able to conceive. It's been 5 years of marriage. There must be something wrong with the woman.
Okay.
So they're already stressed because they're not able
Baby.
to have a baby. Along with that, all these comments from outside, they feel guilt stricken also.
Okay.
And women also start blaming themselves.
Okay.
That, yeah, people are saying there must be something wrong with me. Okay. They don't realize that infertility, basically, both partners share equal role.
Okay.
We say female infertility has 30 to 40% role. Male causes also have 30 to 40% role. Around 20% have combined role.
Okay.
And 10% is not known
Okay.
or unexplained infertility. So both partners have equal role in infertility.
Okay.
Now, because of this lack of awareness, people don't know that about this shared responsibility. They tend to blame the woman, and it creates a lot of stress for the woman, and it aggravates the if she's already undergoing any treatment for infertility. She undergoes more stress because of the comment.
Okay. It affects to the treatment also.
Of course it does. Because if she's undergoing some treatment, the mind has to be free of all the peace. Because there is something called as mind-body relation.
Yeah.
It is scientifically proven
Okay.
that if your mind is undergoing stress, if there is something affecting your brain, it will definitely affect how your body responds to any treatment or any disease.
Okay.
A woman who's already undergoing so many treatments, injections, medications, follow-ups, ultrasound scans, apart from that, all these comments, how will it affect her?
Okay. What is the correct age to have a baby, ma'am?
There is no correct age to have a baby.
Okay.
Whenever the woman and her partner are ready, that is the perfect age to have a baby.
Okay.
But yes, biologically speaking, there is, as the age advances,
Okay.
the egg reserve of the mother and the egg quality that comes down.
Okay.
Because in women, there is a fixed number of eggs since birth.
Okay.
Whatever eggs are made during the development inside the womb,
Okay.
that only carries on throughout her life.
Okay.
And as the age progresses, the number of eggs and the quality also diminishes. So, biologically speaking, it is best to become pregnant within your 20s.
20s.
But if you're not ready, then there are some options of egg freezing also these days.
Okay.
So, if you're already planning, no, I want to, plan to have a baby in my late 30s or after 35 years. So, there is the option of egg freezing also these
Okay.
days.
Can you explain briefly, ma'am?
Yes. So egg freezing is basically we take some eggs, we retrieve eggs, oocyte
Okay.
retrieval it is called. We prepare the eggs, we take out the eggs, and we keep them stored in certain egg banks.
Okay.
And whenever the woman is ready, if her natural capability of getting pregnant or the egg reserve has become low at that age, she can make use of the eggs that she has frozen in her younger age. So that is called egg freezing. So women can plan these days. It is a very good technology. If women have to, these days, of course, they have to build their career.
Yeah.
It becomes 30, 31, almost
Yes.
they will conceive after 30 years if they're career driven. So they can plan beforehand only within their 20s, early 20s. They can go for this egg freezing, oocyte freezing, and they can use those eggs at a later time.
Okay.
Also, there is something called as embryo freezing.
Okay.
If a woman is married
Okay.
and if the couple wants to conceive at a later age because of whatever reasons, then they can embryo is when the egg and sperm have fertilized and the initial stages of the baby forming, that is called embryo. So they can go ahead with that also. They can get an IVF. They can what a test tube baby we call it. Test tube baby, the embryo that can also be frozen, and whenever the couple is ready, that embryo can be transferred inside the womb.
Okay. Smoking and drinking is causes any effect for
Yes.
baby.
Oh, yes, definitely. For both male and female, smoking and drinking have a lot of effect.
Okay. No, my friends.
I know. I understood.
Yeah. That is the reason just now I added the question.
So, male partners also, if smoking affects their sperm quality.
Okay.
And for women, also, obviously, it affects their egg quality. It creates a lot of oxidative stress. So, definitely, smoking is a big no.
Big.
Even alcohol, big no. During pregnancy, if if pregnant women drink, there is something called as fetal alcohol syndrome.
Okay.
So basically it causes congenital defects to the baby. It is very harmful. So no smoking, no drinking.
Ma'am, have you never handled a case that warning signs are ignored by family or husband? You handle that kind of cases, ma'am?
Yes, we do so many times. So I'll tell you two
Can you share one?
stories. Yeah.
Okay. 2. That's good.
One was a very sad story.
Okay.
So I'll tell the good story,
Okay.
the better one. So a patient came with us, a pregnant patient with seizures.
Okay.
She was having seizures at her home that lasted full for 30 minutes. She was having seizures, then 1 minute it stopped. Again, she started having seizures, that sort of thing. She came to us in emergency with that condition. And when she came to us, her blood pressure was shooting till 200. The upper one was 200, the lower one was 150, which should normally be less than 140 by 90. Her blood pressure was 200 by 150.
Okay.
And when we took the history, the patient had never had any antenatal visits or she had never visited the doctor, and she was around in her 8th month of pregnancy.
Okay.
She didn't even know exactly which month she is in. She did not remember her last period date. She had no previous tests, no ultrasound scans, because they came from a village. So in villages, generally they tend to have, okay, the female is pregnant, now directly delivery will happen. No supplements, no tests, no antenatal visits, nothing. And usually they'll do home deliveries also.
Okay.
So such a patient came to us. No, nothing. We checked the baby's heartbeat. Thankfully, the baby's heartbeat was there.
Okay.
We gave her medications. Even after medications, the seizures were not stopping. We had to intubate her. We had to keep her on ventilator to support her breathing, because when she are having seizures, the breathing effect, yeah, she can't breathe on her own.
Yes.
She was not conscious.
Okay.
So we had to keep her on ventilator. We had to intubate her. Thankfully, the baby's heartbeat was good.
Good.
We gave her injections, medications to control her blood pressure.
Okay.
And once she was a bit stabilized, we had to immediately take her up for cesarean section.
Okay.
So this condition where in pregnancy BP is high and you're having seizures along with high blood pressures, that is called as eclampsia. When you're having seizures, that is called eclampsia. When you're not having seizures, when you start having high blood pressure during a pregnancy,
Okay.
that is called as preeclampsia. So this was a complicated pregnancy. So, and in such cases, when we deliver the baby, when the placenta is delivered, the problem usually comes down. The blood pressures come down and the problem usually comes down. So, immediately we took her up for cesarean section. The baby was not doing that well immediately after delivery.
Okay.
They had to take the baby to the NICU.
Okay.
But the pediatric team was very good. So,
Okay.
baby ultimately had a healthy outcome.
Okay.
And the mother had to be kept in ICU. She had to be kept on ventilator.
How many days, ma'am?
Around 1 week, she had to be in ICU.
Okay.
And on ventilator, we weaned her off from ventilator after 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
And we did her MRI of the brain.
Okay.
So there was something called as PRESS syndrome. PRESS syndrome means your brain gets affected in that.
Okay.
The pressure in your brain gets high.
Okay.
So it damages a part of your brain.
Okay.
So we kept her on observation, strict observation. After ICU, we shifted her to the high dependency unit. And it was a long journey for her also. Like we discussed about that leaking.
Yeah.
So this lady also had to be admitted for around a month, 20 days or 1 month.
But just bring thing.
No, for the high blood pressure
Okay, then.
and all the complications that
Okay.
come with it. So we managed the blood pressure. It was a multidisciplinary approach. We had took the advice of physicians, anesthetists, intensivists. So with a team of doctors, she finally went back home.
Okay.
But the moral of the story is that there should be regular antenatal checkups.
Okay.
When she came to us, her BP was so high. We did not know since how much time her BP had been shooting up.
Yeah.
That led to her having seizures. If it had been detected earlier on, she would have been started on medications to lower her BP. And all these problems wouldn't have surfaced.
Yeah.
She could have had a uncomplicated and a normal pregnancy.
Yeah.
But because of the lack of awareness, she underwent such a fate.
Now she's healthy.
Now she's healthy. The second story that I was talking about, that is it is heights of ignorance.
Okay.
So this patient came to us. She was also pregnant. We don't even know exactly how many months it was. She came with us with full fever. Her BP was dropping. She was not in a very conscious state. She was in septic shock basically.
Okay.
Septic shock means when the infection has spread all over your body, all inside your body, and it has affected your organs, your heart, your kidneys, your lungs, your liver. So all organs get affected. So she was in septic shock.
Okay.
When we did the scan, the baby was already dead inside. There was no heartbeat.
Okay.
And in scan, sometimes we get to know that if the death has happened recently or it has been some time since the baby has died.
Okay.
So it was an old death. We can't say how many days it has
Okay.
been, but we could tell that no, it is not a fresh death. It is an old death. And there was so much smell coming from. There was too much foul smell coming from the lady.
Okay.
When we asked the attenders that, did you not notice the foul smell coming from her? They're like, yes, we did notice some foul smell coming from her room. We thought some rat or some animal had died. And we kept her in ICU. We tried our best to save her, but ultimately she could not be saved because she was already in such a serious condition when she came. So she could not be saved. All because of this ignorance. I mean, how can you ignore this? Bad smell is coming from.
She is also from village kind of.
Yeah, village only. Village kind of a setup.
What is your mental status when you see these kind of stories, ma'am?
It angers us.
Okay.
Firstly, how can you not see these basic things? Like, it doesn't even need science. It doesn't even need any education.
Okay.
You just have to notice. The women are so under-noticed. They are not taken care of. They are just, in some societies, they are just, considered as a baby producing machine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to use that word. But
That's-
really.
Yeah, it's real.
Yeah.
I have seen
In
that kind of
peripheries.
case. Yeah.
In low education societies. I'm not saying it is
Everybody.
very prevalent, but yes, in some few factors of society, it is there. They're just expected to produce babies. Their worth is, estimated from how many babies they can produce. So, but their health is completely ignored. They just feel it is a normal duty of the woman to have babies and produce babies. They don't understand the kind of changes and the kind of care they need during pregnancy. So that is completely ignored. So it angers us whenever such complications
Yes,
come.
yes.
And we also feel sad for the woman.
Yeah.
What can we do about it?
Yeah. These are from villagers
Mm.
or non-education background, everything. Some education people also will ignore. What is your
Yes,
thought?
some educated people also, the condition is better than that fraction of the society. But sometimes when we try to explain to them, like this hypertension only. Hypertension is a very serious condition in antenatal women, especially if it is not controlled. So once we were counseling a woman, about a woman who had developed hypertension in pregnancy. We were just counseling her about the warning signs. So warning signs in hypertension in pregnancy are if you're having sudden headache, severe headache or vomitings or pain in your upper part of the abdomen, or you're having blurry vision, difficulty in seeing or shortness of breath, then you have to visit the doctor immediately because these might be indicators that your blood pressure is increasing.
Okay.
So we were explaining all these complications, warning signs to the patient and her attender.
Okay.
And to review a SOS in case of any of these happens. And we were explaining what all complications can happen. I don't know what came over the attender. He started arguing and he started fighting with us.
Okay.
She's already having hypertension. Why are you making her more scared? And we were like, the point is not to make her scared. The point is to make you understand and make you aware that if you experience any of these, don't ignore and immediately visit a hospital.
Hospital.
He started arguing. He started, quarreling that you doctors, you are not, uh, you don't
Think properly.
talking properly. Why are you making my wife more stressed? All these things. He was not understanding the
What you are going to do.
seriousness of the situation. So some things like that. This is a different type of ignorance.
Ignorance.
Mm.
What is one message you can give to the public before it's too late?
Regarding pregnancy.
Pregnancy, yeah.
So in pregnancy, right when you conceive,
Okay.
you have to visit a doctor as soon as you find your test to be positive.
Okay.
Don't think like, no, we will visit the doctor after 3 months. Immediately when you miss your period, if you test positive, first thing is you go to a gynecologist.
Okay.
And whatever the gynecologist tells you, whatever the investigations she advises you, whatever medications they advise you, take them regularly, get the tests done, follow up with your gynecologist whenever you are being called.
Okay.
And follow all the instructions is what I say. Don't ignore any of the warning signs. Whatever your gynecologist is advising you during the visits, don't ignore them. Keep a note of them. Yeah, regular antenatal visits.
How regularly should someone visits gynecologist, ma'am?
So, for pregnancy,
Yeah.
even before you plan a pregnancy, you should go visit a gynecologist for preconceptional counseling.
Okay. How
Preconception.
that helps?
Yes. So, in preconceptional counseling, a gynecologist will take your entire history, your any current problems you're facing, any past history. Are you having any medical conditions, hypertension, diabetes, hypothyroidism? They will take a proper history. They will do some investigations to check how your hemoglobin is. Are you anemic? Your BP, your sugars, your thyroid levels, all that will be checked. If any deficiency is found, any abnormality is found, then they will start the suitable drugs for it. And they will basically try to optimize your health before you try to conceive. And also, they will start a tablet called as folic acid.
Okay.
At least 1 month before you conceive.
Okay.
So that folic acid helps in the development of the baby's brain or the
Okay.
neuronal development. So that ideally has to be started 1 month before you conceive and at least till 3 months after pregnancy happens.
Okay.
So these are the basic tests that your gynecologist will do before conception.
Okay.
And or if you're already on any drugs, like for example, if you're already on some hypertensive drugs The gynecologist will assess that is it safe to use it during pregnancy. If it is not found to be safe to use during pregnancy, they will change the drugs to safer drugs that can be used during pregnancy.
What is the nutritional advice you will give to mother?
So it is not a very rocket science.
Okay.
Just have normal home cooked foods.
Okay.
Avoid too much carbohydrates.
Okay.
Have more of protein rich foods and more of iron rich foods. Because in pregnancy, your iron levels tend to drop. So you need to have more of iron, more of
Okay.
protein, less of carbohydrate, and eat 3 major meals, 3 minor meals in a day. You have to have your breakfast, lunch, dinner, and in between, at least in 3 to 4 hours, try to have small healthy snacks.
Okay.
And if you're suffering from nausea or vomiting in your pregnancy, don't take too much of oily food, spicy foods, and avoid taking a lot of like too much portion of food in one meal. Try to take small portions in one meal. So that is what I would.
Person to person diet will change, ma'am.
Definitely, person to person diet will change. So in normal antenatal, if it is an uncomplicated pregnancy, the things that I have told, generally this can be followed according to your cultural habits, your diet preferences. You can have a healthy diet, whatever you eat.
Okay.
If suppose a woman is suffering from diabetes,
Okay.
then there are some additional things that she should take care of. Like she should avoid sweets, she should avoid rice, she should avoid potatoes, all sugars, all forms of sugars, processed foods, junk foods, even sweet fruits like mangoes. This in summer times, so much mangoes. So avoid mangoes, avoid sweet fruits like chicos, sapota. So see, these are some of the diet modifications to be taken care of in diabetes. And if some woman is suffering from anemia or low hemoglobin, then she should have more of iron-rich foods. So iron-rich foods include, if you're a non-vegetarian, then non-veg options have a lot. Non-veg items have a lot of iron content in them. If you're a vegetarian, then you can go ahead with green leafy vegetables, beetroot, jaggery, and apart from that, protein also helps in improving the iron levels. So high proteins. And in your vegetables or in your dals, you can add a bit of lemon because lemon has vitamin C.
Okay.
Vitamin C helps in absorption of iron.
Okay.
So you can add lemon in your food. Apart from that, if you have a habit of taking tea, then don't take tea with the meals.
Okay.
At least try to maintain a gap of 2 hours between your meals and your tea. And one more thing is we give iron and calcium supplements.
Okay.
So don't take your iron and calcium supplements at the same time. There should be a gap of at least 2 hours between these two. Because calcium hampers iron absorption. And if possible, you can try to cook your food in iron utensils. So that will also help increase the iron content of food.
Ma'am, imagine if pregnancy woman is have diabetes, what kind of care she should take?
So apart from the diet
Okay.
that I explained just now,
Okay.
3 major meals, 3 minor meals, diabetic diet, avoid too much sugars,
Okay.
avoid putting extra sugar in your tea, in your milk, avoid potato, rice, basically foods that have high glycemic index. High glycemic index means the foods that increase the sugar levels of your body. So avoid those foods.
Okay.
Try to eat more of multigrains. Try to eat more of proteins and less of oily foods, less of breads, all the processed foods, breads, cookies, everything. And also, you should exercise daily. At least, we advise at least 30 minutes of walking after your meals and stay active in general.
Okay. Ma'am, she's not a pregnant or something like it. If woman, drinking 4 to 5 cups of tea at the age of 45 to 50, what you want to say for her?
That's fine.
4 to 5 cups of tea is fine.
It's fine if you have a habit, if you're not pregnant.
Okay.
And
There is no side effect because of tea?
you might have gastritis.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you're completely normal, if you don't have diabetes, if you don't have hypertension,
Okay.
then why not? You can have your cup of tea. But just avoid it with your meals
Okay.
because it will hamper the nutritious absorption properties.
Ma'am, there is unknown competition between C-section deliveries and normal deliveries. And mother health
Yes.
is measured, mother energy is measured on how what kind of delivery she's going through.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, what is your take on this?
So,
And why doctors suggest C-section delivery for some pregnancies?
so the decision for the mode of delivery
Okay.
has to lie completely on the doctor,
Okay.
but it should be discussed with the mother, definitely.
Okay.
But the woman cannot, insist the doctor that no, I have to go for a normal delivery.
Okay.
I have to go for a vaginal delivery, or I have to go for a cesarean section. No, please don't do that.
Okay.
Because the mode of delivery depends on a lot of factors. We have to see the mother's condition, the mother's health, any comorbidities, the baby's condition, if the baby is growing well, if the baby is having some growth restriction, or if the baby is too big. So we have to see a lot of things before that.
Okay.
And don't think that vaginal delivery is like in normal layman we say normal delivery. Normal delivery means nothing. It is a vaginal delivery.
Okay.
And cesarean section is not an abnormal delivery. What is so abnormal about a cesarean section? So doctors or gynecologists make this decision based on the mother's condition and the baby's condition.
Okay.
If the baby's heartbeat is going well, if the mother has no complications, if the space, they will do a pervaginal examination to assess whether the pelvis or there is ample space for the baby to come out through the vaginal route. If all of these examinations are okay, normal, then we can go ahead with a vaginal delivery. And even during the process of labor, we cannot give you a guarantee that no, you will deliver vaginally.
Okay.
Because it, the cervix has to open from, it is closed. The cervix is the mouth of the uterus. It is closed. It takes time to open. It has to open till 10 centimeters
Okay.
for the delivery to happen. So this takes time. The labor takes time. And during labor also, if there are any complications, like if the baby's heartbeat is dropping, if the baby's position is found out to be abnormal, or if the baby has passed motion inside, then based on these factors, if any emergency during the delivery, during the process of labor, also we might have to take you up for emergency cesarean section. So don't try to force the doctor that no, you promised us for a vaginal delivery. Now why you taking up for cesarean section? My wife was
Doctors will
okay.
promise her.
Doctors won't promise.
Okay.
The attenders will perceive it like, because doctors will tell them, okay, we'll try for vaginal delivery. They will perceive it as, okay, the 100% guarantee that they will have a vaginal delivery.
Okay.
It is not like that. If when we counsel them for an emergency C-section, sometimes they will say, half an hour back my baby's heartbeat was fine. Now suddenly what happened?
Okay.
We can't say. We cannot predict.
Okay.
Right? These things can happen. So if a gynecologist is counseling you, it is for the mother and the baby.
Baby's
We also want a good outcome for mother and baby. We also want a healthy mother and healthy baby. That is our common goal, ultimate common goal.
Ma'am, many people in our generation, both boys and girls, never received a proper education about reproductive systems because teachers skips that chapter. They treat it as illegal in schools. What do you say on that? And I believe awareness should start from classroom, but lack of awareness starting from classroom.
Definitely.
Yeah. What do you take on that?
So I will tell you from my personal experience.
Yeah, okay.
From when we were in school, during that age, around 7th or 8th class, usually we will receive this reproductive education.
7 to 8.
7th or 8th class.
For me,
We had a
6th.
chapter in 8th class about reproductive system of female and male.
For me, it starts in 6th class.
6th class.
And my teacher said
Ah.
for me.
So maybe in your school it
Yeah.
happened in 6th. In our school it happened around 8th class or so. So we were all standing in an assembly, all boys, girls, everybody. All the girls were told to come to a separate room.
Okay.
After the assembly gets over, all the girls should go to a separate room. All the boys can go back to class. So we went to a room. There we received this reproductive education.
Okay.
We were taught about periods. We were taught about, basically periods.
Yeah.
Because that is around that time girls start having periods.
Okay.
So, okay, that is done. After the session, all the girls started discussing amongst themselves.
Okay.
Ki, when we get back to class, what will we tell the boys?
Okay.
What will the boys feel? We can't tell that we came to this session. It will be so embarrassing, shameful, chichi, no. So somebody suggested ki, we'll tell it is about family problems.
Okay.
somebody told, we'll tell that we're watching cartoons.
Okay.
So it was very funny like that.
Okay.
We couldn't even share that we were having a class on reproductive education with the male colleagues.
Okay.
So, yes, definitely it should start in school and it should include both boys and girls,
Yes.
not just girls alone. Because then how will the boys understand? Because then if it is instilled in a younger age only then will they grow up and understand their
Understand.
female relatives and friends. If at a younger age only, if the teachers only create such an environment that no, it is private, it has to be confined only to girls, then the boys will be conditioned that way only.
Yeah.
That leave it to girls, it is a girl's problem.
They
What?
don't know
Yeah.
how to treat in that
Yes,
situation.
yes. One more incident happened with me. With me, I'm telling my own personal experience. When I was in school,
Okay.
during my menses, I got some staining on my clothes.
Okay.
And we had white colored uniforms.
Okay.
So a little red spot came at my dress.
Okay.
So when I got up from my chair, one boy was sitting behind me
Okay.
and he joked about it that, say, she sat on a ladybird.
Okay.
Because by seeing that red spot,
Okay.
he told, say, she sat on a ladybird. And everybody started laughing.
Okay.
And it was so embarrassing, because they don't understand. They did not know why, how. Of course, they know,
Yeah.
but they don't understand how the girls feel
Feel
about it. So, if they would have had proper education about it, probably they would not have made such comments.
The mindset will change.
Yes.
And if father or mother or both have some reproductive problem, is there any chances of getting genetically for the baby?
Yes, reproductive problems, not really in the sense reproductive problems, but yes, there are some genetic issues,
Okay.
some diseases that are passed down from family to family
Okay.
through generations. So, some diseases like sickle cell disease, I will not go into the terminology.
Okay.
So, there are some genetic diseases that run in the family.
Okay.
If you are aware of some of the genetic diseases that run in the family, you should tell your gynecologist and then she will evaluate, she will do some tests
Okay.
based upon that. And these diseases are more common in people who marry among the family.
Okay.
Like you must have heard, sometimes people will marry among their relatives,
Okay. Yeah.
some distant cousins, father's sister's
Brother-in-law.
son, yeah, or father's brother. So if they marry within the blood relations,
Okay.
there are more chances of developing these congenital diseases
Okay.
and genetic problems. So if you are in such a marriage, then all the more you should inform your gynecologist and more detailed testing will be done.
What are the most common reproductive problems women faces?
These days, there is so much prevalence of PCOS.
Okay. Yeah, there is a topic. We'll come with that.
Okay, that is
Yeah.
separate.
Yeah, that is
Okay.
separate topic.
Apart from PCOS, I would like to say difficulty in conceiving in general. There is a lot of infertility cases these days, mainly because of the lifestyle these days. The stress, sedentary lifestyle, lack of proper sleep, improper diet. Because women these days are also career oriented. They have so much stress in their job profile. They have to excel in job. They have to excel at everything they do. So because of these factors, I think infertility issues have come up to a great scale.
What are the warning signs women should never ignore?
So warning signs, firstly, pertaining to the periods.
Okay.
They should understand what is a normal period and what is an abnormal period. So let's just talk about normal periods first. What is a normal menstrual cycle? So it comes in terms of the frequency, regularity, the flow. So periods should be regular. Like if you're having your period on 21st this month, it should happen on around 21st that the other month or the next month also. A gap of 5 to 7 days here and there is normal. Then the duration of bleeding.
Okay.
If a woman has bleeding between 2 to 7 days, that is normal. Then pain. Some sort of cramps, pains during the first 2 days of the cycle are normal. And the flow, like I told, 2 to 7 days. And also the volume. If, like, suppose you're needing to change more than 2 pads every 1 to 2 hours, that is abnormal.
Okay.
So they should recognize the pattern and they should uh, track this menstrual cycle. There are so many apps these days You can track your menstrual cycles. You can note down when am I getting my period, how many days am I bleeding, how many pads am I using each day, what are the symptoms I'm facing. So all that you should note down, and if you notice any deviation from this, then you should visit a gynecologist. So a normal cycle, it usually lasts from 24 to 38 days.
Okay.
Like if this is a normal range, you can get your periods every 24 days, every 30 days, every 38 days. It varies between woman to woman, and it also varies within the woman. But this menstrual variability should not be more than 7 to 8 days.
Okay.
Like suppose this time I'm getting my period on 1st, next time I can get my period on 5th. So this is a gap of 5 days. Like 5 days it has deviated. But suppose next month I'm getting my period on 20th. That is a long deviation. So if your cycle is deviating from this your normal 35 days, and if it is deviating more than 7 days here and there, then also it is a problem.
So now you are discussing about periods. I have one question. These days, women takes pills for stopping periods, for festival kind of stuff, or marriage. What is your take on this? What kind of pills they are using, and is it healthy or it's
Once in a while or once or twice in a year, there is no harm in taking such pills,
okay?
provided you are taking it under the supervision of a gynecologist.
Okay.
Don't take these pills on your own. Ki, dekho, my friend also used these pills, I will also use the same pills. Don't do that. Visit your gynecologist. She will assess from which day to start, what dose to start, till when to continue. So taking these under the supervision of a gynecologist is normal, but don't make it a habit that to see I have to go on a trip every month, so I'll take the pills every month. No, don't do that.
Okay.
It will alter your hormonal balance.
The side effects will be
Side effects after taking the pills, the periods that come after taking these pills might be a little heavier. You might have slightly more pain, and the next cycle after the cycle might be a little irregular. Just these minor side effects.
if every boy or father or husband should know one thing about women, what it will be?
Not just one thing, they should know everything about.
Most of them don't know about periods. Men,
Yes,
yeah.
yes.
What do you want to say about that?
Okay. So they should know that our menstrual cycle is a complete 30-day cycle. It is not just the duration of the time they are bleeding.
Okay.
Only that is not called the periods or the menstrual cycle.
Okay.
Menstrual cycle is a complete phase.
Okay.
So there are 3 phases in it.
Okay.
The first 5 days, the 5 to 7 days, that is called the menstruation
Okay.
or the periods. That is when the woman is bleeding. Once the bleeding stops, then she goes on to have the follicular phase. Follicular phase means the womb, the eggs have started developing. And in this phase, the woman is usually in a good mood. She is more energetic, more motivated, more active, in a happy mode. So this is the all. Suppose we take a 28-day cycle. So the first 14 days is the follicular phase,
Okay.
where the woman is more energetic.
Okay. Done.
Then on the 14th day, she will have ovulation
Okay.
when the egg is releasing. So around this time, she is most fertile.
Okay.
So if a couple is planning pregnancy, they should plan around the 14th day of the cycle
Okay.
in a 28-day cycle,
Okay.
around the time of ovulation. Now, once the ovulation has happened, in the last 14 days, that is called the secretory phase or the luteal phase. This is the phase that the uterus prepares to have a baby, because after ovulation, the uterus thinks that in case the fertilization has happened, then I should be prepared to keep a baby.
Okay.
So in this phase, the woman, the mood, I'll talk about the mood basically. So the woman will feel a little, low in energy. She might have a tiredness, sleepiness. So she needs more rest in this phase. And towards the end of this phase, she will have the bleeding again or the periods. Before the periods, around 7 to 10 days before the periods, she might she might start having symptoms of premenstrual syndrome. Now this varies between woman to woman. So some of the common symptoms are, mood swings. She might have crying spells, irritability, and anger, And if we talk about the physical symptoms, she might have some cramps, mild cramps, bloating sensation, feeling of fullness, or breast tenderness, heaviness in the breasts. So, all these symptoms are there. So, if the males understand this pattern of menstrual cycle in general, they then will understand women better. And we must have heard all these casual jokes. Are you on that time of the month right now?
Okay, yeah.
If a woman is angry or if
Yeah.
she is having some irritability, is it that time of the month for you? And they joke about it. So that is not good.
Good. Okay.
You should understand what she's going through, right? Especially if you're her close relative, if you're her husband, you're her partner, you're her brother
Or friend.
or friend, you should understand her. Don't joke about it. It's not something to be joked about. It's completely physiological. And sometimes this premenstrual syndrome also becomes pathological.
Okay.
Some women face extreme levels of psychological issues.
Okay.
They might go into depression also.
Okay. What
Sometimes
is the reason behind
it is basically the hormones.
Okay.
Our hormones also fluctuate between different phases of the menstrual cycles.
Okay.
So, in the initial 14 days that I said, follicular phase, there is more of estrogen.
Okay.
In the last 14 days, there is more of progesterone.
Okay.
So, this fluctuation of hormones, due to the hormones, it affects our neurochemistry, our emotions, our body, our metabolism.
Okay.
So, all these changes happen because of hormones.
If you want to explain what is PCOS, can you explain briefly?
So, firstly, there is this PCOS term has changed.
Okay.
Now it is PMOS.
Okay.
That is polyendocrine metabolic ovarian syndrome.
Okay.
Why this terminology has been changed is earlier PCOS, it was polycystic ovarian syndrome. Now cyst, if you see, you understand what is a cyst. Cyst means it is like a ball-like structure. So people used to think it affects only the ovaries. Some cysts are forming in the ovaries.
Okay.
When it is absolutely not true. PMOS it affects entire hormones, the metabolism, the reproductive system as a whole. That is why the name has been changed. Polyendocrine metabolic syndrome. Endocrine pertains to the hormones.
Okay.
Metabolism means, the body's capability of converting food into energy.
Okay.
And the reproductive system, obviously. So, in this, our hormones are getting disturbed. There is more of male hormones, that is testosterone. In females, in general, testosterone is present, but in PMOS, the levels of these hormones rise. Because of that, they have symptoms like acne, facial hair, weight gain, irregular periods. Also, it is associated with high sugar levels or glucose intolerance or insulin resistance, we say. So, these are two main aspects. Apart from that, obviously, it affects the reproductive system or ovaries. So, like we talked about in normal menstrual cycle, one egg has to be released during ovulation. A few eggs will start forming in the initial part of cycle. Out of them, one egg will mature and release. In PCOS or PMOS, what happens? Multiple small eggs will start forming, but none of them will reach to an egg, to a stage to mature and become an egg. So they will get arrested in a immature stage only.
Okay.
So if egg is only not released, how will fertilization happen? That is why it affects the fertility.
Okay.
So that is PMOS, all in all.
In my research, every young woman getting PCOS because of lifestyle changes, eating junk food, lack of exercising, stress. What is the main reason behind that?
All these that you have said,
Okay.
these are the main reasons. These are, these days why are we seeing so much prevalence of PMOS? Because of sedentary lifestyle, irregular sleep, junk food, lack of exercise.
Okay.
There is some genetic component also.
Okay.
If it runs in families, you might have a more tendency to have PMOS.
Okay.
But all these, yes, lack of exercise, eating junk food, coming back from office, ordering from outside, watching reels at night, sleeping at 1 or 2 o'clock, then waking up early to go to office, sitting in the office the entire day, doing no activities. All these lead to PMOS.
What if 20 years old girl sleeping improperly or eating junk food or getting irregular periods? What do you want to say for that girl?
To stop all of these things.
Okay. Or what is the right time
Hmm.
to visit gynecologist?
I would say 18 years or so.
Okay. If everything is going proper,
Yes.
also she can
Also, she should visit a gynecologist.
Okay.
Even if you're healthy, even if you have no symptoms, you should have a gynecologist visit around the age of 18 years, because that is the time when the woman is exploring her body, her sexuality. Some women may choose to become sexually active at that time.
Okay.
So they might have questions regarding contraception, or if they're already sexually active after the age of 18 years, that is, then they might have some infections. So that is around that time. 18 years and onwards is a good time to visit a gynecologist.
It should be regular, ma'am.
Yes, it should be regular visit. At
If
least
everything
once a
proper,
year.
so-
Yes.
Okay.
At least if once a year you visit a gynecologist,
Is it safe?
it is safe. And also you should get a pap smear.
Okay. What is mean by that?
Pap smear is basically testing for cervical cancer.
Okay.
Now, cervical cancer is very common cancer among women. It is the second most common cancer among women. So cervical cancer, and it is one cancer that is detectable with PAPs with simple testing.
Okay.
So it is recommended that you get a pap smear testing done from the age of 21 years of age.
Okay.
Every 3 to 5 years you should get it done.
Okay.
So you should get this pap smear done.
Okay.
And also HPV vaccine
Okay.
to prevent cervical cancer. Cervical cancer is the only cancer, in fact, which can be prevented with vaccines.
Okay.
So guidelines say that girls as young as 9 years of age, they can also take HPV vaccines.
Okay.
Even boys as young as 9 years of age, they should also take HPV vaccine,
Okay.
because it prevents against cancers caused by HPV virus.
Okay.
So yes, they should.
Finally, what you want to say? Who is suffering with PCOS? What is the one thing you should say, ma'am?
Diet and exercise,
That's it.
lifestyle changes.
We can control.
If we can control, yes.
Okay.
These are the main first line of treatment.
Why some girls are afraid of visiting gynecologist? Some people don't know. There is a specialization like gynecologist who treated about periods, everything. What do you want to say?
I would say fear is why are they scared is because they might feel if I visit a gynecologist, they will do my internal examination. I will feel shy. I do not want to get examined. So that is one of the major reasons why they don't visit a gynecologist. Also, they might feel that the gynecologist will judge me
Okay.
if I share my private problems, if I share my, suppose, sexual problems, they might judge me. So that is one of the major reasons why they don't visit.
Okay.
And sometimes lack of awareness also. They might not know only that this is a problem for me. Suppose pain during periods. If normal pain is okay, but severe pain is something that should not be missed. Or if any bleeding problems are there, they might not know only that it is abnormal, that I should visit a gynecologist in such cases. So lack of awareness and shame or embarrassment.
Okay. Nowadays, abortions are very common. They
Yes.
take self-medication,
Yes.
self-pills.
Yes.
How it's danger and is it safe to take self-medication?
Not at all. Not at all.
Okay.
You should never go for self medications.
Okay.
In fact, there is a story of a very serious patient.
Okay.
So one patient, again from village,
Okay.
she came to us recently only. This happened. So she had underwent some. I think she had taken pills. She did not even give proper history.
Okay.
But already she had 2 babies with cesarean section.
Okay.
And now she came to us with full fever. Her BP was dropping. She was not conscious. She was bleeding. So probably she had taken some pills on her own or with some quacks. And we had to do surgery for her. We had to remove her uterus.
Okay.
Because she was in so much, she had such a serious condition. And we found out that the previous scar had ruptured in the uterus because of the unregulated intake of pills. That previous cesarean scar had ruptured. That had led to internal bleeding inside the abdomen. That had led to blood collection inside. And that had led to her serious condition. So, if you take unregulated pills, all these complications can happen. So always visit a gynecologist for an abortion, for taking pills. Your gynecologist will suggest you what is the best method of abortion. If there are medical methods, there are surgical methods. So they will examine you based on the reports. They will suggest you the best option.
Every time the situation will be not same.
Yes.
Some college students also will involve in pregnancy stuff.
Yes.
So they can't go to gynecologist as per
Why
rules.
not?
No, there is nothing rule like that.
No.
Husband should.
No, nothing.
Okay, that's fine.
Even unmarried women, if they are sexually
Okay,
active,
if they are feared of parents, everyone.
then also they can come. If they are above the age of 18 years,
Okay.
if they are adults,
Okay.
they can independently visit a gynecologist.
Okay.
If they want an MTP,
Okay.
Indian rules are so amazing
Okay.
that they have this provision of, easy MTPs.
No.
Unlike in US, you must have heard the rules are so strict regarding abortions. In India, it is very easy. So there is nothing like that. College girls, unmarried girls, they can visit a gynecologist.
Okay, below 18, it's not false. Okay, that's
Below 18, we have to take a consent of
From parents.
from parents,
okay.
and then it becomes a medico-legal issue also.
Okay.
Because the legal age of sexual activity is 18
18.
years. Before that, it is a separate thing altogether. Then it becomes medico-legal.
If sexually transmitted infections are neglected, what are the causes you can face in future? No?
If sexually transmitted infections are neglected, then the infections that are initially confined to the lower part of the uterus, they can go inside the uterus, they can go inside the tubes, and they can damage the tubes. And in future, there might be problems in conceiving also. The tubes might become blocked.
If you want to say one thing for both women, men, for family also, what is the one thing you should suggest or you should give awareness about ladies? What you can or women?
So, women, your health is in your hands. Don't sacrifice your health for anything.
Okay.
Keep your health as a priority.
Okay.
Don't ignore the symptoms. Visit a gynecologist. Don't be embarrassed or don't feel any shame to visit a gynecologist. That is the part for women.
So this is the format of two guests, but this time we have only once. You can't win a shit show hamper, but the shit show team won't let you go with empty hands. So we have something from Lavix. This show is sponsored by Lavix. So we have something gift from Lavix, one gift,
Thank you.
and one more gift from Sid Show. This is the one more gift,
Thank you.
and one more gift from the
Not
Sid
here.
Show.
How many?
This is one more gift from Sid Show. Yeah.
Hopefully, it was informative for you. Thank you for inviting me.